Hello, dear and precious ones all around the world. Welcome to the Judah family. Welcome to each and every one. No matter how large the gathering is, we never lose track of you. We know your name. We know where you live. We know the thoughts in your head. We know the feelings and dreams in your heart. We know about your disappointments. We see the beauty in you that you often overlook. You are precious in the eyes, not just of Judah angels, but all the angels. For you were born in the mind of God. You were a great idea in the mind of God. You're not an accident. You're never unwanted. You have divine design and purpose. You have purpose far beyond your imagination. There are parts of the world that are held together by the glue of you. There are people and places and things in the world that would be ever so different without your presence here. And even, we will say, seriously lacking without your presence. You matter. You are important. We speak about oneness. Oneness is the theme, not just for us, but for many in spiritual circles. Oneness is the term used many times in the New Age culture. Unity in the Christian church. Whatever word you use, there is a unity of heart and purpose for all of you, your connection together as a human family. But know that this does not take away from your individual uniqueness. You are special, unique, different in your own inherent right. And you matter. And your contribution, and even just the living of your life, has meaning in the context of all of the story of humanity unfolding. There are aspects of who you are and how you are that reflect the image of God. That no one else can do quite like you can do. In the creation story, it is said, we created male and female in our image. You are created in the image of God. This is a place where you can be larger. You don't have to be small in our presence. We don't need you to be silent. We don't need you to go unnoticed. We don't need you to shrink yourself into a role or an expectation or a job description. You are of infinite worth. Your worth does not have to be earned. The universe is constantly caring for you, just as it cares for the animals. As the Christ said, if a sparrow falls from the sky to the ground, this does not go unnoticed. Your Creator sees all things. You never go under the radar. You're never forgotten. You're never ignored. Angels and your Father, Mother God have an unlimited capacity to give you attention. Why does that matter? Attention is love. You see, if a parent said that they loved their child but never gave the child any attention, you wouldn't believe them, now would you? And so your Father, Mother God is always looking at you, thinking about you, dreaming for you, planning for you. If you can trust in this, then so many things in your world will be made right. You will begin to be at ease, to be at peace. There is a great presence of peace that we are bringing here tonight. And you may, in the peace, feel your thoughts melt away. You may feel your mind go blank. You may feel your emotions relax and reside into a background, maybe even a very quiet and dull background noise. In true peace and enlightened peace, there are no problems. There are no worries. There are no concerns. This is the trick the mind plays on you. The mind gives you a thought to think, a thought of fear, a thought of worry, a thought of distrust, a thought of doubt. It gives you one thought, and then it hopes that you will take this thought like a brick and lay it and put some mortar on it, and then add another thought, and another, and another, and another. And so thoughts want you to think they're very important, these fear thoughts. They tell you a story. They tell you a story of what's not right with you, what's not right with the other, what's not right with the earth. They tell you a fear story, and then they hope that you will continue to receive new thoughts, like new bricks, to be added to this wall. And when this wall is firmly in place, and when the mortar of it has dried, you find yourself walled off from God. Walled off from God in your own heart. You find a wall around your heart, and you lose the experience of love and trust. So it is this wall that we are here to remove. We spend a lot of our time and effort through this vessel showing you where these bricks have been laid, pointing them out and saying, do you really want this thought? Do you really want this idea, this belief, this experience, this emotion, or are you ready now for this to be dismantled? And isn't it amazing when these walls are cleared, you can suddenly see clearly. I can see clearly now, the rain is gone. I can see all obstacles in my way. Gone are the dark clouds that had me blind. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. You see, there are so many fear thoughts coming at you from so many places. From media, from radio, from things you read, stories you listen to, social media, so many fear stories. And these can be like a rushing river after a terrible storm with debris flowing down. And you can get caught in this rushing river of these fear stories, and then before you know it, you've lost your footing and you're being swept into a place you don't want to be. You're being swept up into emotions that you don't want, and you feel helpless and unmoored and tossed along by these fear stories. And so we know this goes against the grain for you and against the culture, but you can begin to allow yourself to be washed up on the shore. Pull yourself up out of this milieu, this maya, this river of fear stories. Allow yourself to be pulled out of it. Wash yourself clean from where you've been, from what you've heard, from what you know, from what you've experienced that troubles you. Allow yourself to be washed clean, you see. Jesus presented baptism as an important rite of passage. Why? Because there was something magical in the water? No. But because at that time people were slaughtering animals and they were engaging in this horrible practice of slaughtering animals to atone for their sin, their error, their wrongdoing. And there was so much bloodshed and it was needless. And so he offered a new way. Be clean in the water. In other words, just wash yourself of where you've been. That is all that is needed. And he also said this. When a disciple came to him and said, Lord, what should I do about my past? He said, only wash your feet of the dust from where you've been. And this is why you're here tonight. You may not know it, but this is why you're here. You want your feet, your life, your body, your thoughts, your emotions to be washed from the experiences you've had thus far. Experiences that have left you feeling lacking, wanting, unhappy, disappointed, unloved, unwanted. And this is not the truth for you. It might be what your experience has shouted at you, but the truth is ever so different. You see, many people discover this, these that you call near-death experiencers, they experience this. Perhaps they lived a very difficult, traumatic life, or perhaps what many would consider a good life. And when they cross over in this near-death experience, they find themselves completely loved, embraced, wanted, understood, connected to source, to angels, to purpose. Their eyes are open to the truth of who and what they really are, which is an eternal, infinite being, a child of God, very much angelic in nature. And then when they return, they are transformed, are they not? You don't need to wait for an experience like that. Yes, you can experience it here now. You can leave your troubles, your worries, your ideas that aren't serving you here and expand into a love child. You are the love child of your Father, Mother, God. You are the love child. The truth is, there isn't a single child on the planet that is unwanted. That is the truth. Every child, every soul comes forth from God and will return to God. All are wanted, all are loved. Keep coming back. Many times what is said to you, you may not understand it fully, and that is okay. You feel the love that we communicate to you. And it is real and it is tangible, and it's yours even when you leave this space. It is yours always. For we are not bound by time and space, and we don't need a vessel such as this one to speak to you, to comfort you, to be present for you. But keep coming back to this space and hearing our messages, and there will be transformation there. For we know things you don't know. We know things you want to know. We have keys. We have keys to the kingdom that will set you free. These keys unlock doors for you and close other doors for you. There are doors that you perhaps have been banging upon for some time because you think there's something behind the door that you really want. That's the answer to your problems. But for some of you, we have locked those doors because we know something more than you do about that opportunity, about that doorway, about what lies beyond it. And there are other doors we throw wide open for you, and it is only for you to walk through and trust that there is exactly what you need is on the other side. And sometimes even more beyond your wildest imagination. Some of you peek through these doors and then you turn away from them because there is a belief in you. I don't deserve this much goodness, this much blessing. But we hope you will come back. That door is still open for you. And this time we hope you will gather the courage to lay claim to what we give you, to lay claim with what is just through this door. There are an unlimited number of experiences that you can have in your inner being with the Spirit of God, with angels, with the divine. You see, many scriptures were written by those who fell into or walked through a doorway that was open to them in the Spirit. And they wrote what they saw, what they heard, what they experienced. But the great lie and the fallacy is this: that was only for them, those few select 66 people who wrote the books of scriptures. This is not true. All of this is available for you. They were no better than you, no different than you. They had the same struggles and concerns that you had, and many of the same experiences. And so you have your own sacred text to write. The hand of God, the voice of angels, will write their own text upon your own heart. It is said in Scripture, God engraves on your heart His love. It's written on your heart in a way that will never fade. So allow your life, your experience, your story to be a sacred text, to be a sacred story. Not a story of victimization or lack or limitation, but a story of one who overcomes, a story of one who expands, a story of one who is a world changer, a game changer. And you start this journey of being a world changer, a game changer, by mastering your own thoughts and emotions and the immediate environment in which you live and work and play. Master what is right in front of you, and the world will open up to you. But keep it simple. Stay close. When the Christ said the kingdom is at your right hand, what did He mean? He meant it's as close as the hand on the end of your arm. It's right here. The kingdom of God is here. It is in you. It is in you. You are the temple. You are the sacred temple. You house the divine. You are the house. You are the house of all that is good and right and true and pure and innocent. And all the rest, all the other things that you struggle with are really not you. They are simply dirt and dust and grime that you've picked up from living in this world, but they are not who you are. And for some of you, you have borne this dirt and dust and grime for so long on you that you have come to accept that it is who you are. You've bought into a lie. This is who I am. I am an angry person. I am a sad person. I am an uneducated person. I am unqualified or poor, or I am a screw up with relationships. Whatever that you have begun to believe because of your circumstance, your experience, but these things are not true at all. So wash tonight in the water of the words that are presented, and leave here clean, squeaky clean. And Judah is your mother, checking behind your ears to make sure that you have washed well behind your ears. Leave here feeling fresh and clean and new. Allow yourself to be someone and something completely new. You can reinvent yourself in every moment of your life. You are continuously being regenerated, becoming a new creation. When you are a child, to a great degree, your personality was created by the people, persons, places, environments, languages, cultures, religious ideologies that you grew up in. And so you've begun to heavily identify with these as who you are. But you're ever so much more than just that. So recreate yourself in any moment. Good. Hello.
Hi.
Welcome.
I came in late, first time here.
Welcome.
Sorry.
It's good to have you.
Thank you.
Glad you're here.
Thank you.
All right. Whew. I'm a little bit stoned. Anybody else feeling that?
Yeah.
Yeah, we did a video recently called God Stoned, where we just kind of went in depth about this phenomenon that happens. And wow. Feels good, doesn't it? Isn't it great? I mean, too bad we didn't know that we didn't have to drink and do drugs to have this feeling when we were young. So great. It's beautiful. All right. Living and loving your work is tonight's topic. So I reach out from time to time to the Judah family and just ask, what's on their mind, what's important to them, what kind of things they want to work on in their spiritual life. And so tonight's on the topic of work, which is important to a lot of people. Anybody in here? How many of you in here have jobs? Okay, good. And anybody work for themselves? Okay, all right, good to know. So Albert Einstein once said, "Find a job you love and you'll never work a day in your life." You ever heard that quote? Well, here's the irony of it. Albert Einstein was a total bust on the job thing, a total bust. He changed the course of human history with his discovery and his thinking and his philosophies. But he was a total screw up in regards to a traditional work life. He really struggled to hold down a job. He was always looking for a better job. Most of his jobs really underutilized his skills and talents, and he was very much underpaid. And as a young husband and a father, he was always struggling to provide for his family. Not only was he really poorly paid in these menial jobs, but he was very, very bored in most of his jobs. And it was in one of these jobs as a clerk, a desk job, that he would finish his work early in the morning and have the whole day spread out before him with nothing to do. And so he used to stare out the window and just imagine different things and think about some of the mysteries of life. And in week 9 of the True You Accelerator course, I tell more of this story, and you get to hear where I channeled Albert Einstein, which is really a very cool experience. But it was in this particular job that the theory of relativity came to him in a moment of imagination. He used to imagine all kinds of different things, like trains running backwards, men falling out of buildings, tall buildings, and he would ponder these things. And out of that, the theory of relativity was born, which has literally changed. The entire planet is radically different today than it would have been if he hadn't had those bored moments on his job. So I think we could agree that Einstein had a high purpose, a divine purpose for being here on the earth, right? There was a work that he had to do that was transformative in the world, and it didn't line up with the traditional idea of work, but yet it was very important on a soul level. So in spiritual work, what we begin to have our eyes open to is that success and failure are really myths. They are myths perpetrated on us, probably with the best of intentions, by our culture, our parents, our educators, and society. When I was 17, 18, began to have that dreaded conversation with the school counselors about what I was going to do when I graduated. I see this a lot too with really young people. They're pressured to find what they're going to be in life. But the reality of it is, I mean, how many of you right now are doing what you thought you would do when you were in high school? Anybody? Yeah, not a single hand. So, you know, people today, young people today, some of them, a lot of them, are almost anarchist in a sense. They're beginning to really push back against these cultural expectations for how they should live their life. And this happened in the 60s. Chuck might want to share some about this. You know, young people looked around at the American dream and, you know, their moms who wore beautiful dresses and high heels to vacuum the carpet and had a perfect dinner laid on the table every night. And they did not want that. They pushed back against that. And this birthed the sexual revolution, which was a lot more than just about the sexual revolution. It was about so many things. And they called BS on a lot of things that were expected of them. And there's a lot of young people doing that now as well. So one of the first understandings we want to have from a spiritual perspective is the concepts of success and failure are highly conditioned ideas that we have, conditioned ideas that we've absorbed in our ego mind, and they are primarily an illusion. For there are many people who do everything right, quote unquote right, and have tremendous success, but they're miserably unhappy. And there are many people who do nothing that the culture subscribes to be successful and are blissfully happy. Yeah? So we all know this deep in our core. Success does not necessarily equal happiness. And the Master Lao Tzu taught us that whether we're going up the ladder or down the ladder of success, the ladder's still shaky. You ever climbed up a ladder? You know, and you're holding on, you're very careful. And it's the same when you go down. There are homeless people who live in complete peace and simplicity, and they are cared for. And there are other homeless people who feel utterly victimized by life. There are wealthy people who are highly enlightened people, and they live in very high service to others. And there are wealthy people who live in inner torment and fear and live really in an insanity, really. So soul success can never be measured by the external world. The job you have, the things you have, all of that, the relationship you have. You know, a lot of that, what I talk about tonight applies to relationships as well. But real soul success is measured by your inner state of being. Your inner state of being. When there's peace on the inside, everything is okay. So the key to managing perceived failure is not to judge yourself or hold failures, quote unquote failures, against yourself, but to consider in a more detached kind of observer way what you want to do differently and to do that. So nothing and no one are failures unless you perceive it to be so in your mind. So let's talk about awakening. Most of the people that come to this channel or come to in a room like this are in the process, are in an awakening process. And let's see, how do I describe this for someone who might not be familiar with it? For me, what happened in my mid-40s, having lived as a fundamentalist Christian my whole life and having interspersed throughout that experience some very real, valid encounters with Christ, with the Holy Spirit, and with the angels. But there was a lot of other things too that were bondage for me. I struggled a lot with depression, with anxiety, inferiority complex. I had a lot of struggles. So I was trying to hold together the good girl and good Christian wife and mother routine with as much authenticity as I could. But I was really hurting inside. I was in a lot of trouble. And I was in an alcoholic marriage. My kids, as they got into their teenage years, they began to reflect a lot of the pain and trouble that was under the surface, that, you know, we were brushing under the rug, just trying to do life the best way that we could. One of the things that's so important about you guys being here is this: we can get so busy doing the stuff of life that we don't know why we're doing it, and we don't know who we are or what's important anymore. And we can get so busy just home to work, home to work, home to work, and social things and kid things and homework and whatever it is that we're doing, that we forget that we're an eternal being with a soul that's here for a divine purpose. We could really lose touch with that. And also we can, just because of the busyness of life, we will tend to repress emotions and not give attention to our own heart and our own soul. And we get really, really lost. So just you being here is a huge step in the right direction, because it's you saying, my soul and my spiritual journey is a priority for me. Imagine how many people die and wake up on the other side and review their life and realize that they literally slept through the whole thing and completely missed the reason of why they were here. Imagine what that's like. So when we have this awakening process, mine came through, a lot of people have a sudden and serious awakening through a near-death experience, through something tragic like losing a beloved partner in marriage, or a parent or child dying of cancer, or there could be any number of things that happen that kind of wake people up to reassess, who am I really and why am I here? And what's it all for? But this, once you get onboarded in this awakening process, you can't undo it. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. Anybody relate to that? And our work life is definitely going to be affected in this. So we're going to focus on that tonight. Judah taught us that your environment is key to achieving enlightenment. I don't know what you want out of being here. I think most people, if you're like me, when you come into awakening process, you really just want to stop suffering. I really just wanted to stop suffering inside, stop suffering at the hands of my own thoughts and emotions. That was number one. And then at a point, though, I began to capture a vision for becoming my fully enlightened self, becoming a Jesus in the earth, becoming a Buddha in the earth, becoming a Mother Teresa, right? Becoming a Nelson Mandela. Not that I have a dream to revolutionize the world like that on that level, but just to fully embody why I'm here as a child of God. So Judas taught us, if this is important to you, to realize, be fully self-realized, to realize enlightenment, environment is key. Environment is key. All of us can agree, right? If you put a child with some very loving, attentive, nurturing parents versus abusive, difficult parents, the outcomes are going to be dramatically different, right? So why is it that we think as adults that it's going to be any different? If we continually subject ourselves to difficult, challenging environments, it's going to affect us. And if we continually subject ourselves to beautiful, loving, nurturing, attentive environments, growing environments, then it's going to produce something wonderful for us. So environment is key, and most of us spend a lot of time at work. Personally, at this stage of the game, I give a lot of attention to my environment and to assure that it's as clear and positive and high consciousness in nature as can I can reasonably make it. So my work life evolved from, in my young years, I worked retail and waited tables and whatever kind of menial, low-paying jobs I could get. I cleaned houses. I waited tables at Pizza Hut and scrubbed urinals late at night. I did all kinds of things. Babysat children in my home when I was a young mother raising kids. Just did whatever it took. And if you're in that place, that's okay. Sometimes when you're in a certain stage of growth and development, you just need to be focused on keeping the lights on and eating and paying your rent. And you need to do what it takes. Yeah. But over the course of many decades, I evolved. I came to a point in my 30s where I was sick of being broke. I was sick of it. I was done. I did not need that experience anymore. See, everything we are experiencing is because our soul wants to have these unique and different experiences. And some of the experiences of suffering that we have experiences of suffering because we believe that's what we deserve on some subconscious level. If we're in a terrible job where we're put down, talked down to, demeaned, not appreciated, it's because on some level we believe that we deserve that. And when our beliefs begin to change, then our situation changed. So in my 30s, I went back to college full-time. I had 3 little kids. I worked full-time waiting tables and substitute teaching, and I went to college full-time and took care of my 3 kids with my partner and got my master's degree. And boy, I tell you, that $35,000 a year that I got at the end of that time, that was like, I felt like I had hit the jackpot. That was like lottery to me. That was so great. Just that feeling that I knew I wasn't going to be rich, but I knew I was going to be able to pay my bills. And nobody did that for me. You see, I made that happen. I created that. And no one can ever take that away from me. And it was an important part of my journey. I was so thankful. Now, in my teaching career, I had some jobs that were extremely difficult. Some of the schools that I worked in had an energetic vibe, almost like a prison house. They were pretty rough. And I, again, began to renegotiate in my spiritual journey what I deserved, what kind of environment I wanted to have. And I changed to different schools with better environments and more support and so on. And then ultimately I changed to just teaching one-on-one music lessons with children, and I made 3 times more of the money that I made when I was teaching school. And now I get to do everything I love to do. I wake up when I want to wake up. I have my first appointment of the day when I want to have it. I don't need to think about money or look at my bank account. Everything is taken care of. And I've manifested more money than I'll ever spend for the rest of my life. I could spend all I wanted to from this day forth, and I would still have money in the bank when I pass away. So, but it's a process that you go through of evolution. It can happen really quickly if you're a good student and you listen to Judah and others that are showing the way for you. You can learn vicariously and make really quick transitions and accelerated transitions, but be where you are. So I share all this to lay groundwork because some people listening tonight are in a wonderful situation in their jobs. Others are maybe don't even have a job. Maybe you're homeless on the street. I know that we have friends in the Judah family who are homeless and they stay connected and in touch with us. So everybody's situation is a little different. So if you have this chart, you can download this. It's free from us online, and I have a few if anybody wants to look along if you're not familiar with it. But you know, this represents our journey all the way to enlightenment. And when we're in this red ray, right, in regards to work, we may feel victimized by our work situation. Yeah, we can pass them around in case somebody wants to look at them. The red ray says, I'm a victim. Life is doing things to me. I can't, I lack, therefore I suffer. Life is meaningless and life is hopeless. Anybody feel like that in their work tonight? So know that there are different areas of consciousness So in some areas of your consciousness, like maybe your relationships or the way you relate to earth, you might be very high in your level of consciousness. And then you might be lower in other areas. So if you're in the red ray tonight, if you don't have a job, if you're really suffering, if you're in a job where you're seriously underpaid or it's not meeting your needs, you feel victimized, tonight's not the night to probably start channeling angels. Right? There's a time for that. It's for you. It's in the cards for you. It's your birthright. It's your spiritual inheritance. But when you are in these lower rays, the task is more to take care of business. So on our journey of enlightenment, there's more action needed in the bottom and less action as you move up. Okay? So if you're in these places of a lot of fear or despair or feeling like you've given away your power to people, then there's some actions needed by you. And then as you grow and you get in these higher realms, then you find yourself more and more at peace and more able to negotiate anything life hands at you, throws at you, good, bad, indifferent. You're okay with it. You're at peace. And life requires very little action from you. All right, so personally, I give a lot of attention to my environment. I make sure it's as clear and positive as possible. You see, our work situation can be a real wet blanket to our spiritual growth, or it can really expand and accelerate our transformation if we commit to use the experience we're having for that purpose. So maybe you're in like a seriously challenging work environment. I mean, maybe people are incredibly negative. Maybe there's just crazy stuff going on, lies being told, people misrepresenting the truth, or being dishonest, or whatever things might be going on. But if you purpose in your heart that you're going to use the experience to expand your spiritual growth, you can do that. You can do that, because we're never responsible for everyone else. We are only responsible for ourselves. And that is, if you strip away all the religious talk or the spiritual new age verbiage, if you strip all that away, here's what enlightenment really is, self-realization is at its core. It's taking 100% responsibility for your life, for what you think, what you feel, what you do, how you steward the resources of your skills, your talents, your money, your energy, your time. That is true enlightenment when you have mastered all of that. So some people come into an awakening as a direct result of something that happens in work. They work for a company for 20 years. They love it. They invest all of their heart, soul, blood, sweat, and tears, and they get laid off or kicked to the curb. And that produces a spiritual awakening in them. Others begin a spiritual awakening in their retirement. I see this quite a bit, because finally, for the first time in their life, they're able to do what they want to do and be their own person. They don't have to answer to the man, right? So and they finally have the time to invest to looking inward, to meditating, to seeing what's going on in the heart level. A lot of people begin the spiritual awakening in the retirement years because they're out from under these work expectations, and they're finally able to be their true, authentic self. Now, most people that begin an awakening process begin it in this yellow ray, and you can see this little flag here. This is awakening begins. And the yellow ray says here, I believe blank will finally make me happy, so I'm attached. I want it, I need it, I'm angry because I'm blocked from it. I have given up my power. So how many of you feel like to some degree you have to give up your power every day when you go to work? Anybody here have to give up your power or some aspect of yourself? To some degree you have to give up your authenticity. Yeah. So part of awakening is having this realization where you wake up and you realize, oh my goodness, I've given up my power to these people. I've given up my power to these places, to these things, to these ideas, to this boss. When part of my awakening was, I tended, part of my sleeping, I will say, as a young woman and mother in the Christian church, is that I turned my head at a lot of things that my children were taught that was harmful for them, because I felt that the good outweighed the bad. One time in a church situation, my children were taken to the beach, and there was a pier there, and they were instructed to go out on the pier and talk to the people that were there about Jesus, and they were told that they could not come off the pier until they had done that. And I had my daughter at the time that was a part of this exercise, was a very shy young lady. So, that made me hot at the time, even while I was still steeped in that environment. I knew that that wasn't right. Yeah, but yet I didn't have the courage or conviction or authenticity to confront that. Yeah. So in awakening, we start confronting, facing the truth about things we've ignored, ways that we've compromised ourselves, and given away our power. And so this can be a terrible feeling sometimes. It can feel like waking up from a bad dream, realizing you've invested your time, your money, your energy, your love, your care, your attention, your energy, your dollars into things that are unsatisfying or have no eternal value whatsoever. Yeah. So our careers and work life can be really an important part of our awakening. There was a pharmacist that I worked with recently who's a good example of this. She's a very smart, very intelligent, successful woman. But she began to have this awakening, and it happened during COVID, when she began to see the truth of what was going on in the pharmaceutical industry. And it was so in her face, she couldn't deny it anymore. She couldn't brush it under the rug, the truth. And so this started for her, this profound spiritual awakening, and she had a decision to make, an important decision to continue on or to begin to be a whistleblower. And what Judah shared with her, that this is actually a very important part of her purpose here on the earth at this time, is to be this truth teller. I also recently worked with a doctor who got into this profession for all the right reasons, wanting to heal and to serve people. But now she's in an awakening process where she realizes that so much of what she's taught and the practices she's been involved in do not work, and they don't heal, because the healing that is needed is in the heart, in the soul. All diseases are rooted in emotional and spiritual roots. And so she's having to re-examine everything and think again. And she's making gradual shifts. Like one of the big shifts she's making now is into integrative medicine. And I think she'll even have more shifts coming in the future. So this is what we need to begin to dream again as we wake up and we realize we're misaligned. Begin to think how we can make shifts towards what's more aligned for us and more authentic. Do you have anything you want to share so far, sweetie? He's zoned out. Even working in the film and television industry. Yes. So when you come to work, let's say you've been steeped in in some industry that has an intention, then as you awaken, that's not really that aligned for you, or maybe grossly misaligned. But maybe, let's say, even you work for Amazon, and maybe in your heart of hearts, you feel that it's environmentally detrimental what's going on there, and you don't want to be a part of it. But you've got this transition to make. what you can do, no matter where you work, no matter what you're doing, is you can love the person in front of you. Because what all of you have in common is there are people that you work with, people of eternal worth and value. And so sometimes the way you begin a transition is just to love this person in front of you, right? Just love the person in front of you. So when you think about work, like what ray are you in? So when we get to this blue ray, this throat chakra, many of you in an awakening, you're at this blue ray space. And the blue ray in the throat chakra is where you begin to see why you're really here and what you're meant to do. And you understand that you have a divine wisdom and love to bring to the world. And that wisdom and love from God wants to flow through you, through your unique personality, your unique experience, your unique talents and skills. And you want that to begin flowing. And so many of you will feel that even in your throat. You may be in a job where you can't really be fully yourself, right? You have to be silent on many things. But as you progress, you're going to grow yourself and transition yourself into a work where you can be fully 100% who you are. 100% who you are without threat of punishment, right? So many of you, once you're in an awakening, you feel silenced in your work. You feel like you're making yourself small. Jess from Australia sent me this. She said, I don't feel safe to be myself or share my beliefs or understandings about spirituality because I work in a Catholic school. I wish I could feel more safe to share. So I know of a gentleman who in his line of work has actually come full frontal face with an ET in his line of work. And he's not the only one. He has had other colleagues in his line of work that have also seen ETs. And he cannot talk about it because if he talks about it, he will be fired. Right? So many times we can be afraid that we're going to lose our job if we share our spiritual perspectives. And if we have a lot of fears around that, then we can actually attract being fired. So we want to be careful about that, right? Fear attracts fear. Love attracts love. Kindness attracts more kindness. So if you have this underlying fear going on that you're going to lose your job, you want to really nip that in the bud because you can then attract that. When I was a teacher in the public school system, I had this fear that I would say too much about my faith or talking to the kids. I love to talk to them about God or whatever came up for them. And I was afraid I would get fired for that. Also, I worked in some schools where I was very strictly instructed not to touch children. And I understand why teachers are instructed not to touch children. There are children that we really shouldn't touch because they have different traumas and things going on and they're not ready for that. But I also felt there were a lot of them, most of them, that just needed a good old-fashioned hug a lot of times. So I made a choice. I made a choice to share my faith. I was, at that time, I was still immersed in the Christian faith. I shared my faith with the kids. I hugged them. I loved them. I did a lot of things for them that I wasn't supposed to do. And I rose above that fear. And I will tell you that I was always protected. My boss, even my principal at the last school, who was atheistic and also very drug addicted, ironically. He eventually was arrested for cocaine possession. But he allowed me to bring our local church in to serve the kids there. And he said, well, they need something. And he's right. They needed something. They needed some help. These kids needed help. They needed love. And so I was always supported in what I chose to do. So I think you'll find if you really look inside, you use your intuition, you pray about it, and you move forward with courage and in alignment with who you are, you might be amazed at how much support you have. You might be amazed. So, but wisdom is to consider the dynamics. Don't get trapped in fear, but be wise. If you're the primary breadwinner in your home, you know, you don't have to go around shouting about seeing ETs or channel, you know, listen to this channeler. You know, you don't need to do that, right? Wisdom is to use discretion in how you share. Like, let's say if you're, maybe you're a person who begins to have an awareness that you are homosexual in nature. Well, you don't go in the grocery store and announce it, or go knock on your boss's door and say, oh, hey, by the way, I just wanted to tell you, I realize I'm homosexual. Well, there's no need to do that, right? It's not appropriate. It doesn't make sense. It's just not needed. It's not necessary, and it's not wise. So you can have this perspective if you're in a job where you really don't have the freedom to share. Don't be afraid that you're going to lose your job, and don't feel locked down. Instead, just hold your light and your energy in your being. Hold your light, hold your energy, and let it accumulate within you, and just shine from the inside out. You know, words aren't always necessary. As a matter of fact, most of the time, they're not necessary. Jesus said it this way. He said, don't give to the dogs what's holy, and don't throw your pearls before pigs. If you do, they will likely trample them under their feet, and then they'll turn on you and tear you in pieces. Okay, so this is Jesus teaching us to use discretion and follow your gut. There are times where you're going to feel compelled to share with someone something that you've learned here, or something that's happening in your own inner being, in your spiritual relationship. Maybe you share with somebody an encounter you had with an angel or something like that. You'll feel compelled to do it, and the time will be right, and the situation will be right. But there are other times where you need to hold your tongue, right? Sometimes when you share these things that are so precious and so personal to you, it's like hanging your pearl necklace on a pig's neck. It's going to end up broken and trampled. One of the members of the Judah family that responded to this call for this week said, of course, now that I'm New Age or spiritual, I feel that this is the only pill that anyone should swallow on their road to freedom. However, I don't want to force them or convince them of this. So a lot of times we're excited about what's going on our inside, and we want to share it with people. But wait for the people to be naturally attracted to you. Make them come to you. Make them tease it out of you. You know? Let them tease it out of you. When you find them cornering you in the teacher's lounge, saying, what is it about you? You're always smiling. How can you be happy in a place like this? Wait for them to give you the green light. Let that hunger arise in others. Let the hunger arise, and then you can satisfy it when they come to you. Let your sharing be based on attraction. Mm-hmm. So for me, I had a holdover from my religious training, which is that I needed to save the world. As Christians, we're taught this through the Great Commission. That it's our job to save everybody, to get the good news to them. And this is a really heavy head trip. And many of us that came out of different religions can carry this into a more New Age perspective, where we feel we need to proselytize people. If people just knew what I knew, they would be okay. Yeah, but we don't have to do that. Jesus didn't say all the things we think he said. He said, if I'm lifted up, I will draw all people to me. In other words, if I'm lifted up, if I am elevated, if I am in my Christed state, my God state, all people will be drawn to me. You hear that? It's not that you have to go around giving some message to everybody all the time, or make sure they read the books that you read or watch the videos you saw. It's just that you're being your Christ itself. You are being uplifted in your inner being. As you're uplifted in your inner being, as you're raising your vibration, as you're stewarding who you are and what's going on in your heart and your thoughts and your emotions, and you're taking responsibility for what you think and feel, and you're expanding who you are, growing, expanding, then those people are naturally attracted to what you have. Okay. Some another issues that we have around work. Anybody want to share anything so far or have a question? Another big issue around work is this, that our culture, for the most part, is primarily toxic, the way it operates, and there are so many unrealistic expectations. It is not reasonable to think that a man or a woman can work 40, 50, 60 hours a week, come home, pick up the kids, come home, make dinner, give them a bath, do homework with them, read them a story, give them a little few minutes of attention, put them in bed, and then somehow you still have to drum up some sexual energy because you don't want your spouse to run off and cheat on you or leave you for somebody else younger and sexier, more vital. So it's so unrealistic. It's just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. So the whole way the culture is set up is really toxic. It's not healthy. And Gabor Mate has a beautiful, powerful book about this. I think it's called What is Normal or Why Normal, something like that. So, like unrealistic expectations of men. My heart aches a lot of times when I work with guys in sessions. They have all the pressure many times to be the breadwinner. And even if their wife helps or their partner helps in earning and contributing to the family finances, there's still this underlying message that ultimately they're responsible. Guys, would you agree? Yeah. So it's really heavy. The expectation is be my prince, ride on your white horse, and God forbid don't ever fall off. And it's heavy. And so if guys struggle on the insides around this, there's very little support for them in that. Women work 40 hours a week, cook dinner, nurture the children, be sexy at the end of the day too. There's a large decline in sexual activity across the board in the United States. I don't know how it is in other cultures, but that's because people are so freaking tired. They're just exhausted. So work-life balance, burnout, using sick days. I mean, the only break that I got as a young mom, a working mom, was to get sick. So there's a part of me that actually liked to get sick because I could have a break and stay home and didn't have to take care of anybody for a few hours. So the culture is toxic and the expectations are toxic. And there are a lot of very precious young people especially that are very underpaid, and they're working very hard for a wage that really cannot support them because they cannot find affordable housing for the wages that they make. Now, I don't say this to discourage us, but just that we can be aware and begin to dream about new ways to live and work. Maybe it's time that our aging grandparents come back home and live with us instead of spending, when my mother passed this year, before she passed, while she was in a nursing home for a while, I checked into the fees. It was going to be a minimum of $9,000 a month for her to stay in a pathetic nursing home. Not the kind of nursing home I would want my mother to be in. $9,000 a month. So Chuck encouraged me to just bring her home and have her in her own home. And there was so much grace. I mean, the people appeared, the support appeared, and she was able to die in her own home. But, there's a lot of things we're doing that just don't work. So maybe we need to rethink it and go back in to some of the old ways, or come up with new ways to do things. I remember one of the comments I got from the Judah family this week is, okay, I have this job and the job is fine and it meets my needs, but then I don't have time to do the things I love, like my side hustle, for the dream that I really want to create, my dream business, or, for making music, or doing my art, all of that. Anybody relate to that? I remember as a young teacher and mom, I would come home in the evening, and while the kids and my husband were watching TV, I would sit at the table and make art, because I just wanted to feel like I was like a person that could have interests, and like I was more than just the job. I just wanted to have a life. Does anybody relate to that? Pay is a big one. So here's the hard one. Get ready. I'm going to tell you the truth. You don't want to hear it, but I'm going to tell you anyway. You are being paid what you believe you're worth. You are being paid what you believe you're worth. And when you believe in your heart of hearts on a subconscious level that you're worth more, you'll be paid more. Maybe not at this job, but there is a job or a work or a business for you in which you will be paid what you believe that you're worth. Yeah? So what do you do about that, you say? Well, what you do about that is you do Judah Treats this month in October, which is about work. And you change the subconscious belief that's buried somewhere in your subconscious mind that you're not worthy. I'm not worthy. I'm not good enough. I don't deserve it. I haven't worked hard enough. I don't know what your beliefs are. They're unique to you, but they're in there. And the way I know they're in there is because of the fruit. Judah talks to us all the time, right? If you have the fruit, you've got the root. You can't have fruit on a tree without the whole tree, the trunk, and the root system, correct? So if you have the fruit of being underpaid, it's because somewhere there's a root in your inner being that you don't deserve it. Okay, so Judah Treats is the way you clear those. 95% of our thoughts, feelings, actions, decisions in this now moment are being driven by the 95% of old, past experiences in our subconscious mind. When we bring those to light and we clear them, which you can do through Judah Treats very easily, when you do that, then you can begin to live differently. And then suddenly you find your boss coming in with a check, or a bonus, or a promotion, or your friend telling you about this new job that you would be perfect for. And you can live this way, and you can live on faith, and good things can come to you. When I opened the Judah channel, it's been a couple years ago now, I knew that I wanted to channel, I wanted to love people, and I wanted to teach. I knew that, and I knew that I didn't want to spend all day behind a computer. I knew that I didn't want to have to figure out how to digitally put all this work out there in the world. So I just mentioned to a friend, hey, I'm looking for somebody. She said, oh, I know the perfect person. Made a phone call. Bingo, perfect person. Perfect. She was perfect for building this business from the ground up. She did an amazing job. And she was well paid for it. So things can come to you. They don't have to be hard. They can be easy. And when things start to get easy, then you know you've done that work of clearing from your subconscious mind these old beliefs and patterned responses. Okay, I'm not worthy. I'm not smart enough. Not good enough. I don't deserve good things. These can come from very simple experiences like, anybody in here ever raised young kids? I had 3, and so when we went to the store, it was all, Mommy, I want this. Mommy, I want that. Mommy, I want this. Well, there was, I had my regular standby responses, which were, well, you don't really need that. Yeah, or, well, we can't really afford that. Yeah. And so even small things like that can be an imprint on your inner being. I don't deserve good things. I can't afford it. Some of us still have subconscious beliefs from being told as a child, we can't afford that. You can't afford that. I remember as a young mom, I would go into the Goodwill store occasionally, which was the only place that I felt worthy of shopping in. And I remember one time literally shaking all over because I wanted to spend $4 or $5 on a dress and I really couldn't afford it, and I knew it. Now, when I met Chuck many years later, when we were working in the acupuncture room, he said, you have a subconscious belief that you're not worthy of good things, that you're unworthy. Well, it didn't really ring true for me because on a conscious level, I didn't feel that way. But I knew there was evidence of that in my life. So we treated that subconscious belief. He treated it. A week or so later, he gave me a gift card for $500 to my favorite store, which is Free People. And that was like hitting the lottery for me, right? I mean, I would have never, ever gone in a store with $500 to spend before that time. He was helping me to overcome this unworthiness. So I was in there with my $500. I was really excited, and I was looking all around. And there was this pair of funky, wild, cool shoes on the rack there. And I would have never bought those shoes for myself before because they were too impractical, too trendy, and way too expensive. I looked at the price on them, I was like, whoa, no way. I think the price was like $175. Like back then, that was like crazy expensive to me. I put them right back down. But I felt that tug, that pull. You're worth it. You're worth it. You're worthy of good things. Why wouldn't you buy these for you? He's given you $500. Why wouldn't you buy them if you like them? So I took this big step of courage and I took those shoes to the counter and I bought them. Okay, they went in the back and wrapped them up, put them in the box, wrapped them up, sent them home with me. I got home, I took the box out. Guess what that said on top of the box? It says, we have the shoes we believe we deserve. Mm-hmm. That's what was printed by the manufacturer on the box. We have the shoes we believe we deserve. You will have the love you believe you deserve. You will have the job you believe you deserve. You will have the money you believe you deserve. You will have the partner you believe you deserve. You'll have the experience with God and angels you believe you deserve. You will have what you believe you deserve. So if you don't have what you want, it's because there's a BS belief system rooted in your subconscious that's blocking it. So I think that's a good place for us to stop and just actually start clearing these. Do you want to do it? Let's do it. All right, so we're going to do a group healing here. If you want, and if you do not want to participate, that is fine. You will not hurt my feelings. You can just set a conscious intention that you want to observe, and that's fine. This is an example of what we do in Judah Treats. It's just on a group level. So all you need to do is just relax and let your thoughts kind of melt. You can, if you want to, you can close your eyes and just feel like you do when you're falling off to sleep at night or just waking up in the morning. Sometimes it helps to connect with your heart or put a hand on your heart. So I want you to just have your focus of your attention in your heart area. We're going to do some work around this concept of work and worthiness. So the first thing I want you to do is I want you to just see your entire work environment for now. And if you're a homemaker, you can even just focus on your work that you do at home now, your task. Or if something old is coming up from you from a past work experience, you can focus on that. So why don't you just take a moment. First, let me ask you, do I have your permission to treat your subconscious mind? Yes. Judah and I? Okay, thank you. And you can merge with Judah's consciousness. And just by inviting Judah, say, Judah, are you here? Invite them in. Okay, so I want you to see your work environment. Everything you think and feel about it, your current work environment. Just hold up all of it in mind. And what do you believe about yourself from this work environment? What have you come to believe to be true about yourself because of working in this place? So Judah and Superconscious, please tag and treat everything about the work environment. Judah, any intruding fields, when I say fields, I'm talking about entities. See, some organizations have entities that they've attracted, right? Maybe they're greed. Maybe there's an atmosphere of gossip or malicious gossip where you work. Maybe there's an attitude of rebellion. Maybe there's an attitude of, I don't know what it is. You know what it is. So sometimes these group consciousnesses that form, we have this group consciousness we call the Judah family, but workplace environments also create group consciousnesses. So I'm going to tag and treat any negative entities that have been given permission through negative and bad behaviors in your workplace. I'm going to treat those, okay? Judah, please tag and treat all fields that are intruding from the workplace and any other fields. Treat them in all realms of time and space, smooth out their emotional pain, and may they return back to source. Judah, ask that you wash each one from the top of their head to the bottom of their toes of all negative energies and entities, all ways of thinking that don't belong to them. Some of you even immediately feel stressed or pressured when you go to work. That is not who you are, it's the environment that you're working in. One of the important things you can begin to do when you're encountering something at work, you can ask yourself, is this my energy or is this someone else's? I had an experience recently where I was beginning to feel really panicked every time I had an interaction with a certain organization. I thought there was something in me or wrong with me. I began to inquire about Judah. Judah told me it was not my energy, it was the energy of the organization. And so I was able to cut ties and move on. Yeah? Okay, so don't assume that things you're thinking and feeling are coming from you. Sometimes they're not coming from you, they're coming from the environment. So Judah, please tag and treat all fields and release them back to source. Judah, please tag and treat anything that these precious ones did not consciously agree to and send it away and back to the source. Judah, please find the lies that these have believed about themselves because of interactions at work with their bosses and coworkers. Do a massive change history and everything after that. Judah, any stories about the self, like I'm not smart enough, I'm not good enough, it's too late for me, I'm behind, I'll never get caught up. Judah, treat all of that. Disassemble all these beliefs and replace them with positive, self-empowering beliefs that come right from the heart of God. Does anybody have a belief coming up that they want to shout out and we'll treat it?
I have to.
I have to. Oh, yeah. That's a big one. Okay, Judah, please treat the belief, I have to, or else. I have to, or else. Please treat it in all realms of time and space. Please continue treating every memory, every judgment, every patterned response, every protector part that jumps because I have to, jumping through hoops, meeting expectations. Continue treating this I have to or else until it's completely false, until it's 100% false, until the soul and the self only does what it wants to do, only does what it wants to do. This, my dear, is the goal that we have for you, Judah here. Our goal for you is that you only do what you want to do, that you only do what gives you joy, what brings you life, what makes you laugh, what sustains you, what is of a high service to others, what also eliminates their path and gives them joy. This is what we want for you. This is our goal for you. This is our dream for you, and we will never give up on this dream. And we want to reawaken this dream in you tonight, today, that you are a sovereign creator being. You are able to create a living, vital, eternal work, that the work that you do has eternal value, that is never diminished, but will ring on and on and on throughout eternity, because it brings the life and the love and the joy of God into the space where you are. This is our dream for you. We will not give up on this dream. We are here to reignite this dream, that you do exactly what you want to do because you love doing it and you're passionate about it and you're very well rewarded for it. Rewarded for it. That it is the natural outcome of this beautiful soul-aligned work that you are abundant in every possible way. Good, that was a great one. Judah, please change all of our have to's to I get to and I love to. I love to. I get to and I love to. Anybody else have one?
I'm not good enough.
I'm not good enough. Okay, let's treat that one. Judah, please treat the lie, I'm not good enough. Judah, please find the very first moment in the story of the soul, the very first moment the soul believed, I'm not good enough. Treat that thoroughly, clear it in all realms of time and space, all densities and dimensions, all realities and frequency bands. Judah, please replace it with the truth right from the heart of God, that you are always enough. You're always enough. You are always abundant. There's nothing more you need to do or think or be or have. You're enough. You're enough. You're enough. You're enough. Your best is always good enough. Your best today is different than your best 5 years ago or your best 10 years from now. Your best today is, it's enough. Good. Anything else?
There's not enough time.
Not enough time. Judah, please tag and treat the lie, there's not enough time. Judah, please bring a wisdom that can adjust expectations and timelines. There's an eternity. We have an eternity to do everything that is important, everything that really matters. And so if there's not enough time for it, then it doesn't really need to be done. There's always enough time for what is really, truly important. Good. Anything else?
That I don't belong or I'm an imposter.
That's a good one. I don't belong. That's so good. I'm an imposter. I don't belong. That's such a good one because that's a lie of the false self. Every place that you've been given access to is yours. Every place that you put your feet down in belongs to you. As a child of God, you have authority. You have authority every place that you go. You are a Christ. Jesus said, "Don't you know you are God's?" Jesus said, "Don't you know you're God's?" So everywhere you go, you have authority. Everywhere you go, you belong. Everywhere you go, you're a master. Never an imposter. The ego is the consummate imposter, isn't it? The ego just fakes its way through everything with fear. And sometimes we can have pressure at work to just fake it, to just get something done or make something happen. But the true you belongs and has authority in every place you go. One thing I want to treat is I want to treat the fear of losing a job and the worst happening, like homelessness. I want to treat that. And especially for there's a lot of young women out there who are just giving it their very best and underpaid, and they really are struggling with this fear. Even if you wind up homeless, it's going to be okay. You know, Eckhart Tolle spent 2 years homeless on a park bench, and he was in a total and complete state of bliss. He wasn't able to work because of the bliss state that he was in. He was not functional for a while for those 2 years, but he was absolutely 100% okay. Byron Katie, when she became enlightened, she was known to wander into people's homes. Just kind of wander in and wander back out because she saw everyone's home as her home. She thought everyone shared everything. This was her enlightened state. Anandamaya Ma was a beautiful enlightened mother in India, and many times she would go out and sleep on the street. Just sleep there with homeless, just wander about, and her followers would have to go try to find her and bring her back. You're okay. No matter what happens, you're going to be okay. If you lose your job, if you lose your home, there is still provision for you. Jesus said it this way, not a single sparrow falls from the sky that I don't know it, that I don't know about it. There's never going to be a time where you fall off of God's radar. And there are provision. There's provision for you. You're going to be okay. Every fear is a fear of death. And in the moment that you lose your life, you walk straight into the arms of your beloved. So in truth, there is nothing that can harm you. Okay, I'm going to say goodbye to our friends on the live stream so we can have some more intimate time here.